Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined here in London. SmithEubank press a couple of hours ago now, Ben, but delighted to have another big fight across the line.
Yeah, this one took a while, as did the Marshall Cruz one. So could have been two different main events, and so to put them both on the same card is big, and delighted to get over the line. It's massive, and really happy. The team have worked so hard on this. Bill, Chelly Heffron on there as well, and it should be a very special and interesting night in Manchester.
Just firstly, there was talk on the stage. You said that there were other fights potentially for Billam-Smith if it wasn't this fight. I asked him, he said, I imagine maybe the Eubank fight. What were the other options for him if it wasn't this fight?
Look, Eubank was ordered, and so that was an absolute definite option. Kell Brooks flirting about coming back, so that's something that we're looking at as well. Tim Tszyu, we're in talks with No Limits about that fight. We'll see what's going on with the Charlo situation. Let's see. But Liam Smith's got great options now, and not just at super welterweight, but at middleweight as well. I think he feels comfortable, and he wants to become a two-time world champion. But when this was activated, that was it, and that was what we committed to. And I remember at the time I was desperate for the not to be a rematch clause in.
Is that because you would have been able to go and take the Eubank fight, get a world title?
Yeah, it would have been nice for us. Like it would have been nice for us, but at the same time, it was more just at the time I just didn't think it warranted it. I understood it, but I didn't understand. Do you know what I mean? And so at the time I was like, we didn't want it to happen, but then when it's activated, and then when you see Eubank Jr. turn up and you realise he's fighting for his career, and that wasn't the Eubank Jr. we know. That's after two. That was a humble Eubank Jr., but it's after he'll feel two camps. He had almost a year out the ring, and then had two camps where he's boiling down. When you think about it, that's going to hurt anyone's resilience and physicality. You speak to ex-fighters, and that's not healthy. And so he's had now time to go and think about it. And then when you see him around today, it's more of a silent Eubank Jr. Yes, he's laughing and joking, isn't it? It's more like, and you're thinking, God, he knows how serious this is. And I didn't feel that at all the first fight. I don't think he really knew. A lot of people didn't know, definitely casual fans, how good Liam Smith is. He obviously found out, and I feel like it hurt him. It hurt his pride, and it hurt where he was at. And he'll have been searching for how that happened over the past couple of months. He's now committed to the fight. You've got to rate any fighter that's willing to go back to the same arena, the same fighter, the same ring as the one where he experienced his first knockout and wants to come back, and that's a proper fighting man. But that's what makes this dangerous, I believe. And it's the same people that said there was no chance Liam Smith could win the first fight that are now saying there's no chance that Chris Eubank Jr. can win the second. I think this is forget the names, forget the size of the occasion, forget the size of the fight. I believe this is a great fight, just a great fight, and it's a great clash of styles. And I think if Eubank Jr., as I say, has a great camp and has that resilience that we've always seen, this will go for a lot longer, and it's going to be a brawl. And I think we'll see the junior of old.
Is it retirement next for Eubank Jr. if he loses this fight? We have to look, and he's not really been one that's ever been stopped or hurt in his career. We look at his career, fights with De Gale, George Groves, Abraham. He never was hurt, and then all of a sudden he gets stopped, something that was sort of very unheard of. I think you said it at the press conference, or someone said it. If you pick a Eubank-Smith fight, a lot of people maybe say points. They don't expect a stoppage. He was stopped in a brutal fashion by a man who moved up a weight. If it is the same again, it seems like your side, Liam Smith's side, you almost feel like it's going to be more emphatic this time round. Is that the end of the road for Chris?
I don't think it's ever the end of the road for a fighter that wants to continue. I think it might hurt him at the top level. It might hurt him for the big fights. That's why this is serious. He's get used to the big box office occasions. He's a superstar. Let's make no doubt about it. That first fight was really sold 75% off his name. That's how big a star he was, and it sold like crazy. This time he's fighting for that. I think that's what he's fighting for, and that's what makes this so intriguing. Is that we've got a different animal. I still make Liam Smith a favourite. He'll be even more confident than he was the first time, which is hard given how confident he was. He's an intelligent fighter. He is the favourite, but this is a great fight. Whether it's the end for Eubank Jr., no, I wouldn't say it's the end, but he's definitely fine for that for those box office nights.
Billam-Smith, in another interview today, has said that it's his last fight with Boxer, and he'll be exploring his alternative options after this fight. Just for you, are you going to sort of, regardless of the outcome, try and put him another lucrative offer in and continue working with him? Obviously, it's been successful since he has come to Boxer.
Yeah, I think what we've seen with us is we'll deliver for the fighters that we've got the fights for, and that we can do so. And with Liam Smith, we've had a great run, and we'll probably sit down with his team in the next week or so, and to discuss that. And I think our main goal was making sure the rematch happened for him, making sure he gets the payday that he deserves again, and then we'll see. But yeah, we have a good relationship with Liam, and there's big fights for him, and we're already talking about it. But this is not a foregone conclusion, and it's difficult to look at what's next. As much as we believe Liam Smith will do the business, it's always difficult to look at what's next before the fight, and I'd encourage the team not to do that.
An interesting sort of news from yourself had come out at the surface that Fabio Wardley was a free agent. Not many of us actually knew that, and you've sort of been having conversations to some extent with him regarding this Frazer Clarke fight. Where are you at with that now? Obviously, there's been a bit of back and forth between yourself and Eddie, saying, well, why have you given him a date for June? And if you want to do that, then we'll go to the end of the year. Where are you at with it all? Are you trying to negotiate with Fabio himself?
No, not with himself, but with his team.
Yeah.
This is before the purse bid. We were trying to make that fight, and we've been calling for that fight. I think it's still on the cards. We just want the fight to be as big as possible when it happens. That's the honest truth. We've got a guy, Frazer Clarke, that we believe can be box office. We believe the interest in his career after 6 fights is genuinely ridiculous. Whatever people think, good and bad, he's a man of the people, and he does huge numbers. And for us, it's about he's lucky that we have these British names, that he can have big fights again before where he wants to be, which is world level, and he can have those big nights, the defining nights, the nights that build your name and take you to another level, not just in the ring but also from a profile perspective. And that's all it is. We see Wardley as a big British fight, as we see Adelaide as a big British fight, as we see Jamie TKV as a big British fight. Frazer would have fought many of them, if not all of them, in his first fight. We just want them to be as big as possible. And as I say, we were questioning the purse bid and how it happened because the fight was already being negotiated. This isn't us not wanting the fight, and I'm sure Fabio's team can vouch for the fact that we were trying to push the fight even before the purse bid.
Does Frazer still fight June 10?
I think we were in Poland last week, which is why it's difficult. I'm going to sit down with him and his team this week, and then we'll make a decision. Frazer made it very clear that he would like to fight Fabio Wardley.
Eddie said that the reason, you giving him the June 10th date was inexperience, and that you're undermining your fighter, sort of, that you're not ready almost, and that you don't have the faith in Frazer that he's ready. What's your reaction to that?
Again, it's just, I don't want to go back and forth because I don't want a title or a clickbait. It is what it is. I don't want to get into it. I would like to have a good relationship with Matchroom like I have with Queensbury and like I have with George Warren, and it makes boxing so much better. It makes the fights easier to make. It makes the fights better. It makes everyone less protective, and that's what we would like. And that's not helped by the back and forth and the this and the that. And I appreciate we sometimes get drawn into it, but we really don't want to. I really think that boxing promoters at this point, in this 21st century that we're in, should be thinking, how do we promote the sport of boxing? Because it's never going to be run by one person. It's never going to be run by one governing body. We've seen that. And so it's a massive sport. It's a global sport. I don't want to... I would like to be able to get on with promoters, not talk badly of them anywhere we can avoid it. Of course, sometimes we feel cross the line coming to us, but we've got thick skin, and it took thick skin to come into the industry, and we just have to continue. But as I say, we'd like a good relationship. That's the main thing.
With that being said, obviously there's always going to be a lot of back and forth in this industry. Nice to see that sort of you want to be as cooperative as possible, mine. On the topic of Martin Bakole and Deontay Wilder, obviously I've got to ask you about that. Your comments raised some eyebrows again from Eddie Hearn. He said that when he goes to Saudi Arabia and he pitches them these 4 fighters and a mega fight, etc., they're not going to want to know about Martin Bakole. He's also said that Deontay Wilder wouldn't even know who Martin Bakole is. Could I just get your reaction to that?
Well, one, I'm glad people are talking about Martin Bakole because that's our job. 2, it's our job to get him in and amongst the big names. 3, did Anthony Joshua want to fight Alexander Usyk, or did he fight him because he was... Sorry, mate. You okay?
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
No problem.
That's mine.
You all right?
Check it.
You got it. Don't worry.
Well, I'll cut that out.
And Anthony Joshua fought Alexander Usyk because he was his mandatory. It wasn't because he was the biggest money fight out there. And for us, Martin Bakole is number 2. Deontay Wilder is number 1, even without fighting. Usyk's going to fight Dubois, and that leaves an interim or a final eliminator. We realise no one's going to choose to fight Martin Bakole. We have to go down the governing body route. If boxing was a meritocracy and you could fight your way to the top, then Martin Bakole will fight his way to the top, and eventually he's going to get a governing body that decides to go by the rules and order the fight. And what we're doing is just putting his name in the mix. And I think the fact that it almost gets laughed at is correct in reality, but also exposes the fact that the sport is now so much business driven that most of the heavyweight division won't fight more than once every 18 months, once every 12 months, waiting for those big paydays, when in reality we could be seeing them fighting each other all the time. And it goes back to Joyce Zhang. I saw so many people saying, why did Joyce take that fight? How stupid he was to take that fight. And I'm thinking, it's boxing, and we just got to see a heavyweight fight, not on pay-per-view, and have an upset and 2 massive guys going at it, and we now have a different star in Zhang. Do I still want to see Joe Joyce against Dillian Whyte? 100%. Do I still want to see Joe Joyce against Anthony Joshua? 100%. It's just a different mindset. The fighters should be fighting each other, and hopefully over time it can happen. And I know I'll always be told this isn't the way boxing works, son, and we've been told that for a long time. And we'll just continue to do the best for our fighters, and Martin Bakole will get his shot eventually as a mandatory, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, Ben, just 3 more from me. Dillian Whyte caused absolute carnage by the looks of it on Saturday night. Just firstly, how does it sit with you, some of the comments made?
It wasn't nice, was it? And you can't stand for that, and I'm sure Martin Bakole's team will have to do something. From a humorous side, it's one of those things that will probably end up on a takeout TV program. It was one of the most ridiculous things ever. Ridiculous, wasn't it? And the Polish TV presenter's face. And imagine this for our first show in Poland with a new partner, Polish TV, and we go, fantastic, we've got great interviews for you. Dillian Whyte's coming. Anyway, at least it wasn't on Sky. I hope they sort that out, because it was, you don't.
What riled him up so much on the night, Ben? Because it's not something that's been. I can't sit here and pretend that I've known Whyte and Bakole to have had this massive trajectory of beef in the past. All of a sudden, we get to Poland and it's like every insult under the sun.
He is a character, though, isn't he? He's almost a bit like Marmite, but at the same time, yeah, I think he's a massive character, and we're starting to see that. Look, there was a lot going behind the scenes with whatever was going on with Bakole and Whyte that week. It was real. It's not to. We'd love the fight. We would love the fight, but whether it will be taken or not, it's not. It doesn't. Again, it's one of those risk reward.
2 more from me, Ben. Chris Billam-Smith versus Lawrence Okoli. I suppose first, before we discuss today's imminent news, the three-way clash that's been spoke about. You've spoke about wanting to cooperate. Everyone spoke about wanting to cooperate. When I caught up with Eddie, he said 9 p.m. Conlan Lopez. He wants to go 10, half 10 with Woodlara 2, and I suppose in brackets or quote marks, advises you guys to go at 11 o'clock. He did say bedtime, take it that what you will, with Chris Billam-Smith and Lawrence Bakole. Will you all be working as a free, or do you want to avoid those really late ring walks?
Yeah, I spoke to George Warren about this. We'd like to avoid it. It's very difficult for us, and any promoter will know that. We're in a stadium. It's an outdoor licence, and so we'll have to go earlier. And I think other experienced promoters will know exactly that. And so, yeah, we'd love to avoid. We think it should be sensible. Ultimately, we have got a British world title fight or British world title fight in an outdoor stadium that is going to be sold out, and it's very difficult to. Bournemouth. It's the first time they're having an event of this size. It's the first time that we've got licensing things going on to extend, to increase the allocation. It's sold that well. It's a big deal for them, and we're going to be quite restricted, unfortunately, in working to their times.
Will you have a conversation with Matchroom and see if there's anything can be done? I know you've said you've had that conversation with George Warren. Perhaps maybe reach out to someone like Frank Smith and see if there's some form of amicable way you can do it so there's no freeway clash. Yeah,
I will do. Obviously, it's I will do, and I think. Look, I would like the back and forth to stop because I just don't think it's helpful. I appreciate they probably want the back and forth to continue, but It does make it easier. As I say, I'm making a couple of fights at the moment or talking about a couple of fights at the moment with George Warren. It makes it so much better for everyone, and especially with show clashes. Hopefully, at one point, maybe the promoters can sit down, and even with a mediator, and just plan schedules around each other. This is an amazing sport. As a fan, wouldn't it be great to go, right, boxer on this weekend, Queensbury Matchroom, whatever. You've got boxing almost every weekend. It's unbelievable. Everyone can watch every show. Everyone can compare every show if they want to, because that's what they love to do. But at least then you can watch everything, and I think the whole industry would benefit. It used to be, actually, the board wouldn't allow big shows on the same day. Now, obviously, they can't do that anymore. The sport is too big. One thing we should be happy about is, 3 world titles on UK, Northern Ireland as well, but UK soil for our guys. That's where the sport has got to now, and three broadcasters investing this heavily in boxing has never happened before. So there's definitely a lot of positives. If the promoters can get round the table, I'm sure George would be up for it. We should do it, and we should genuinely do it, and I think we'd see a lot less clashes.
Then, final one from me then. You mentioned some of the licensing issues. It's only sort of been brought to light tonight, I believe. Just picking it up, just lastly on the licensing issues or whatever there is issues, I believe it was Joe from K4 today I spoke to. He said he's got a meeting on Friday. As far as what you've been briefed, I know it's only breaking news today. Is it in doubt? That's what was circulating earlier on. You believe that this fight will still go along at the Bournemouth Stadium?
Every big event, especially an outdoor, it goes through rigorous processes. This is the first event of this scale ever in Bournemouth. The council are so excited. They can't believe they're getting a world title fight. They never thought they would get boxing in Bournemouth. Now they're getting a world title stadium. It's incredible for the town. It's a huge effort from all the town. This isn't like doing a fight in Manchester or London. This is a new experience for them, and everyone's getting together to make it happen. I couldn't thank the council enough, to be honest, for their support. And we hoped actually to extend the capacity. It's just going through the roof, obviously.
So instead of sort of worry like some people were thinking, it's actually good news.
We have to go through a process for a stadium, an event like this, especially an event that's not happened before. But yeah, the way it's selling, we're hoping for a bigger capacity. Obviously, things have to be safe. Everyone has to be comfortable. Bournemouth are fighting for their lives in the Premier League. I think they're playing the next day, which again is why it's on the Saturday, not the Sunday. And it's something I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be one of the fight nights of the year, and something very, very memorable for Chris Billam-Smith.
Okay, Ben. Thank you very much for your time speaking to us today. Look forward to seeing you soon. Final message ahead of SmithEubank2?
I think it's a double header, and I think do not sleep on Marshall Cruz. I think that could be one of the best women's fights this year, a unification at 168, and we get to see Savannah at a natural weight. Of course, SmithEubank, there's nothing really more that needs to be said and to say, and just delighted that we get on another massive night in June. Looking forward to it.
Ben Shalom, top man, thank you very much.